St. Martin Lions Club makes presentation to the St. Martin home. Coronavirus COVID-19 aid to the Dutch Caribbean islands can amount to €1 billion. But first up, Prime Minister updates the community on the reopening of businesses on the island. Those are the headlines from Monday, May 11th, 2020. This is SXM Daily News. I'm Valerie Van Putten. Thank you so much for joining me. And as usual, we have a packed newscast for you this evening, so let's get started. In our first story, Prime Minister Sylvia Jacobs gave an update on the proposal of the reopening of businesses on the island. The Prime Minister said that proposals were made to government regarding said guidelines, as well as a phased approach regarding the reopening of businesses. She elaborated.
The proposals were made to government regarding guidelines as well as a phased approach to the reopening of different sectors within our community. I had mentioned earlier that the state of emergency would end on May 17th, and I think many people, and that we would begin the de-escalation period. However, the proposal coming out of the EOC is for the state of emergency to continue even as we de-escalate in order to be able to properly assess and, if necessary, if we need to make adjustments, make those. So while we will see the opening of more businesses, of course, under very strict guidelines as has been proposed by the EOC, and especially on the recommendation of the multidisciplinary task force, which also comprise of the main persons that you see on the panel with me today and who can answer any and all questions related to such. The government is finalizing the plans, and yes, in today's meeting of the Council of Ministers, there was an extraordinary meeting of the Council of Ministers to approve those plans. So at present, the process is being followed with the advice being forwarded on to the governor, His Excellency Governor Eugene Holiday, for his perusal, as the national decree does require co-signature of both His Excellency and myself. Additionally, we have continued to collaborate and discuss with our French counterparts on the northern side of the island as it pertains to the continued border control. Even during this period of de-escalation, we will meet again on Monday next week to finalize those discussions. And as we synchronize our de-escalation, or as they call it, deconfinement measures, both governments have shared our draft de-escalation plans, and we will be meeting to synchronize as much as possible. As a matter of fact, one of my ESF coordinators can probably update that some meetings have already taken place at that level, and now that the collectivity of St. Martin has a stronger influence, we are working with our counterparts to ensure that as much as possible, we can decrease the stress as related to the borders, crossing the borders, etc.
And the long-awaited reopening of the island started today, Monday, May the 11th, 2020. Prime Minister and Chairlady of the EOC announced on Saturday last. The island will slowly see businesses reopening in phases as they try to get back to the new normal. The Prime Minister announced that not all businesses will be able to reopen all at once. There will be 4 phases in total, with phase 1, which started today, Monday, May 11th, with the last phase being phase 4, which will be on June the 15th, 2020. All businesses and services, however, must implement the mandatory guidelines of the COVID-19 Prevention and Safety Plan for the business community of St. Martin and have their operational plans in place prior to reopening. This document may be found on www.stmartingov.org/coronavirus by selecting the Forms, Laws, and Protocols option. The phased reopening is contingent upon the country's ability to contain the spread of the coronavirus COVID-19. if there is a resurgence in the number of cases, the phased reopening will be delayed and or reversed. And in other news at this time, the St. Martin Lions Club gave a presentation at the St. Martin home on Friday last, May the 8th, 2020, in honor of Nurses Week. Lions President Aurelie Boyrath said that when they looked at the Lions COVID projects, they looked at the frontline workers and chose the nurses at the St. Martin home. The nurses and residents were also treated to a meal.
As you are aware, the St. Martin Lions Club, through our fundraisings, are able to raise funds that we give back to the community. Due to the COVID pandemic, we were unable to complete the projects that we had in plan for this year, so we had to make adjustments. A few weeks ago, when we got together as a group to plan our COVID projects, as we call them, we looked at our frontline and essential workers, and then we decided to select this team at the St. Martin's home. You and your staff were able to put a plan in place to secure our vulnerable clients, who are our vulnerable community persons who are your clients, by closing off this property to the outside world. To add to this, your staff from the district workers, they continue to go out there every day and serve our clients, the shut-ins as well as the patients, and we thank you for that. That you continue to operate during these challenging times. Today, we are here to recognize you and your entire team from the White and Yellow Cross Foundation as our frontline and essential heroes. We also realize that it is Nurses Week, and so we want to say congratulations to you and your staff as you celebrate Nurses Week under these conditions. One of our Lion members, Limaline Samine, is a neighbor here to the St. Martin's home, and she came up with an idea to reach out to the music artists living in this community to do a little performance and say thank you for the work that you do to our community. And still to come, Member of Parliament for the National Alliance wants to know if Minister of Labour is talking to the unions. We'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
And as we continue with more on SXM Daily News for this evening, these two items out of the police blotter. On Friday, May 8th, the police got in contact with 3 individuals who were recognized by the police participating in the illegal jump-ups that had taken place on Monday, April the 27th, 2020 in Dutch Quarter and Fort Willem. These 3 persons with the initials OH, SN, and SL, who were all involved in the street party, were ordered to report to the police station so that they could be questioned as suspects by personnel of the detective department. After giving their statements to the detectives, the suspects were made to pay a hefty fine for their actions and were released. 2 of the suspects, who were also frontline workers, were encouraged to show better examples in the future. All those who took part in these illegal street parties should be aware that police will be making more arrests in this case in the very near future. And now in this second item from the police blotter, the police and personnel of the fire department were directed to the Soccer Garden area on May the 9th, 2020, around 7:50 p.m., where a container was on fire. Upon arrival at the location, the police found that a container located behind the company SBS, St. Martin Building Supplies, was burning. While questioning onlookers, the officers at the scene, was made aware that no one was in the container. The fire brigade, who were already at the location, managed to put out the fire very quickly. The reason and how the fire got started is not yet clear. The personnel of the fire department are busy with this investigation. In the virtual plenary public meeting 2 weeks ago, Member of Parliament for the UD, United Democrat Sarah Westcott Williams, queried the Minister of Labour regarding the financing and how is government going to support this program that is going to keep as many people on the job as possible, as well as how the minister will handle the requests for layoffs.
Minister, I want to get to the financing because that is critical when we talk about the how are we going to support this program that is to keep as many persons on the job as possible. And of course, it is public. We have seen where you minister, have received a legal advice regarding one of the options that is being looked at for the temporary financing of this plan. Minister, what is your opinion? No, firstly, did you request this advice, and what is your opinion on the legal advice that became public with respect to the financing and the role of SZV in assisting the government to tide over the finances of this plan until hopefully we can get the money that is requested? Minister, questions like what has your ministry received in terms of requests for layoffs? What are persons who have requested, if they have been told with respect to that? How are you registering, Minister, these requests if you have received any? And I think, coming back now to your introduction, that you have not received at least none, or maybe one, if I remember exactly what you said with respect to what your ministry has received. Is your ministry able, in terms of having the resources, the human resources, able to now not to wait and see when these requests are coming in, but to follow up on what is being said and what is being reported out there with respect to layoffs, etc.? Does your ministry have enough resources to basically go after these type of things that seemingly are playing out there? Businesses laying off persons, shortening their hours, demanding that vacation is taken. And like the speakers before me, I too understand what businesses should be and will be facing out there given what we're in. Minister of VSA, the reason why I mentioned that a lot falls on your shoulder right now is because it is expected of you, Minister, that you are able to keep this fragile balance, the fragile balance here on St. Martin. To avoid a total collapse, you are responsible to make sure that that balance is there. One, to provide immediate needs following the lockdown, the close down, all the downings that we have had. It rests upon you, Minister, to make sure that that balance is maintained.
And at the reconvened virtual plenary public meeting for the budget debate, which was held recently, Member of Parliament for the National Alliance, Christophe Emmanuel, also queried the Minister of Labour about the mass layoffs from the airport, GEBE, Tailem, Harbour, and Winair. The Member of Parliament wanted to know if the Minister has held meetings with the various unions on the island.
As much as we are hearing mass layoffs and layoffs here and layoffs there, Mr. Chairman, through you, I would like to ask the Minister of VSR, Airport, 275 employees. GEBE, 240 employees. Telem, over 200 employees. Liberty, 65 employees. Harbor, over 100 plus employees. Winair. These companies are all tied or interlinked or intertied to government directly. The question that I have for the minister, have you spoken to the unions that represent all the employees in these companies? And if you haven't spoken to them, Honorable Minister, through the chair, have the government spoken to the unions that represent all these employees and companies that are tied directly or indirectly to government? And here is the reason why I'm asking the question. Here's the reason why I'm asking the question. Because sooner or later, they all will be coming and asking government for something, somehow, some way. And I am saying, where is the money going to come from?
Minister of Labour Richard Panafleck requested time to be able to provide the answers to the members of Parliament's questions. SXM Daily News will bring you the minister's response as soon as he returns to Parliament. And as we continue now, the high cost of salaries for civil servants, ministers and members of Parliament was one of the points of discussion in the Anti-Poverty Weekly Press Briefing on Friday, May the 8th, 2020. President of the Chamber of Labour Union, Claire Elshot, wants to know about the other cuts for the ministers, civil servants, and members of Parliament. According to the President, there are a number of measures that can be taken. Mrs. Elshot was at the time answering a question from one of our colleagues.
So basically what I'm saying is there are a number of measures that can be taken, because if I might go down memory lane, there are a number of cars. Each and every parliamentarian that get in there, is it so, depends on your position that you have to have a new car? Is it so that you have to have new office furnitures? Is it so that you need to have, when the change of guard, that you need to have certain salary perks, let's say up to 2 years? Let's start to look seriously at what can be changed at that level before we can come down to this level. Because to me, I am not a government, but every man had a car before they became part of government. They would have to use their car, even if I have to give them a bond for gasoline every 3 months. 1 bond for gasoline every 3 months, because to do my work, I have to use my car too, and every week I have to tank up. So they would be able to get a gasoline bond every 3 months. All of those are different measures that can help the government save. I don't want you to laugh, because I am accustomed of saying things in a jokey way, but I'm serious, because I know, my capacity in saying things, but I am serious about it. It might sound like a joke, but I am serious. These are serious times. And I, being a 40-year working in civil servants, believe you me, Stephen, I have seen a number of austerity measures already that within the Netherlands, until least they talk, and they had unions coming about all austerity measures. You know how many times when I reached to Curacao in those talks, I had to say literally like this. Let me put up my hand so you can see. Keep your hands out of our pocket. You cannot rob Peter to pay Paul. You understand? That is a crime. You have to come up with different things, and we as unions, because we don't reinvent the wheel, but there are a number of different measures, which I don't think I should give my expertise a little for free right now here, but in a setting, I am willing to also think and come up with those measures as would be needed. And during the time of the Netherlands Antilles, we as unions were given all kind of drama novella stories like, oh, the devaluation of the guilder, the this, the that, send home people. They did send home a number of persons, cut the government jackets, and what happened years later? Friends and cronies were put in again and gave the government an overblown jacket again. So we have had a number of measures that have been taken. They have to be responsible in the actions because they are the ones, with all due respect, I wouldn't want to be on their chair. They are the ones that are sitting in that chair to come up with measures to serve and protect the people of St. Martin.
And now turning to our weather forecast for May the 11th, 2020. A surge of moisture at the lower levels of the atmosphere may result in some cloudy periods with brief passing showers across the local region. Meanwhile, the strengthened Atlantic high-pressure system will produce a brisk wind flow during this forecast period. Seas will remain moderate during the next few days. And the outlook through Wednesday midday, fair to partly cloudy and breezy with passing showers that are possible. Now let's turn to your 3-day forecast. Member of Parliament for UP wants to understand the government's plan of approach. We'll have the details of that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
And in news out of Curacao and The Hague, financial support for 6 Caribbean islands of Aruba, Curacao, St. Martin, Bonaire, Saba, and St. Eustatius to overcome the consequences of the coronavirus COVID-19 crisis can amount to €1 billion. Undersecretary Raymond Knops, Minister of Interior and Kingdom Affairs and Relations, has said this in an interview with the Dutch television NOS. So far, the Netherlands has given over €150 million, but this could increase considerably in the near future. According to Minister Knops, it is a lot of money, especially if the situation lasts longer. The islands are economically dependent on tourism, and it is questionable when that will get going again. According to Knops, these economies were already weak, and that weakness is further exposed by the corona crisis. The fact that they are small islands also makes them vulnerable to new outbreaks. The limits will be reached again, says Knops. Strict conditions. Aruba, Curacao, and St. Martin are 3 independent countries within the kingdom. They have their own government and parliament and are themselves responsible for governing and legislation. They are now knocking on the door of the Netherlands for help, says Knops. This means that we certainly will impose strict conditions on economic aid in the forms of loans. One is that countries must pass on aid to business owners and workers to keep the economy going. The Netherlands will also make demands on government finances. The 3 countries had their budgets out of order before the crisis, says Knops. Knops takes it for granted that the Netherlands provides humanitarian and medical aid. Bonaire, Saba, and St. Eustatius are municipalities of the Netherlands, which are also entitled to financial support. The health situation on the islands is now under control, says the Undersecretary, but they have to remain careful. And at the bi-weekly press briefing with the Prime Minister, who is also chairlady of the EOC, Member of Parliament Grisha Heiliger Martin says that she is very concerned about whether we are going to pool our resources into buying thousands of tests for testing the community of St. Martin for COVID-19. She wants to understand the government's plan of approach.
I am very concerned, Prime Minister and EOC. I want to understand if we are planning to pool our resources into buying thousands of tests or just hundreds. Is it going to be hundreds and hundreds? Because like this, we ain't going to finish. We're not going to finish. And I'm trying to understand your plan of approach. Let me explain you something. I'm not going to say that I'm here to answer all. I don't have the answer to all the questions. And I know it's not easy, EOC team, and I know it's not easy, PM. I came into Parliament as a novice politician, eager to learn the ins and outs of governing. And though I have not served in the execution branch, right now, even Stevie Wonder could see that something is amiss. You understand? Something isn't, I don't know. It feels like we're more reactive than proactive. That's the feeling I'm getting. I want us to understand that there are going to be times when we're going to agree to disagree in the coalition. I wrote an article a few weeks ago and some people thought, hey, she break government. No. There are going to be times that I'm going to agree and I'm going to disagree. And people need to understand, and those that know me well, that I'm a stickler for being on time. I'm a stickler for organization. And when I have any kind of projects, any kind of event, I always align myself with professionals. We come up with a plan, I delegate, and most of you know that when I start something, I finish it. What I say I'm going to do, even when it's new. I do a lot, and I love new projects. So this, COVID-19, is a new project. But we need to understand how to start it and comprehend, is EOC doing us justice right now? Have we really thought of everything? Are we still going to continue with the reactive approach, proactive approach? I need us I want to hear, I haven't heard in your presentation, PM, what is the plan? How many more? I just heard that a few more hundreds is coming. We don't need a few hundred, we need a couple thousands. Simbad's next door to me just got over thousands of test kits, more than their population. Pick up the phone, give them a call and say, where you get them from? How can we get them? Can we get like 1,000 or 2? I mean, we need to get the testing going. After 3 days, I want to know these 3 days when it's open, and I am fearful for the next 3 days, PM. I am very concerned because you know already that what I suggested to you was nothing this far-fetched.
And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, this item out of the Netherlands. The government of the Netherlands has asked the Red Cross to coordinate the humanitarian aid for Curaçao, Aruba, and St. Martin. The consequences of the corona pandemic can be felt everywhere. The impact in the Caribbean part of the kingdom is significant. The islands are largely dependent on tourism, which has come to a complete standstill. Unemployment on the islands is increasing rapidly, resulting in more and more households falling below the poverty line. There is an urgent need for emergency assistance. The Ministry of the Interior and Kingdom Relations has made 16 million euros available, and the money will be used to provide vulnerable households with direct food aid so that the minimum basic needs are met. A special payment card will also be made available for grocery shopping. The relief work will start immediately and will run until the end of August 2020. I am Valerie Van Putten. Just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of SXM Daily News, we thank you for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.